Hey guys, welcome back to iNVision Prototypes. Just taking and grinding out some of the tacks on these rear inner wheel wells for the afterburner build. Try saying that 10 times fast. So what I basically did was join up this top section with these side panels for both sides. Now I completed one side earlier, took and tacked this top section to the other side. There's some series of tacks along the back, and then brought this side panel in and tacked it. I want to make sure that we have the exact same curvature from side to side. This upper area is tipped upward a little bit, and if I just clamped it to the bench or the table and tacked it, the shape would be wrong. We're just gonna leave it on tacked for now so we can take these parts, separate them, and put them in the car after. What I've been working on is back end of that car, forming up the rear fascia. Let's go have a look. So as you can see from the cuttings on the floor, I've been developing the rear fascia through here. These are the templates that I've created. One of the templates for this back piece here. This was created earlier. And the way I'm approaching this, since we're building half this car with a buck and half the car without a buck, crazy, hey? I'm developing one side first so that we know all the dimensions, all the pieces, transferring all the sheet metal pieces onto a separate piece in reverse, obviously, so that we can develop that side after. But what I have to figure out is how this back area is gonna look. I don't wanna see the differential when you look from the back of the car. So there's just a loose sketch right there. You see the larger area in the middle, two areas on the sides, and kind of horns on either side of that. And those are going to be the LEDs, tail lights, license plate, grille. So anyway, right now I'm working on this lower portion. This upper area, it's not too bad because it's one continuous piece all the way across. But this lower area, we have to fabricate it out of several pieces. And we're going to, like I said, start from one side and work our way to the other. I got a little bit of a jump start on this earlier, just to kind of speed things up. I don't think everybody wants to see template creation followed by outlining them onto sheet metal, followed by, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is unclamp this piece here. And we have to take, shoot, yeah. I'm gonna cut this off right here. Gotta make sure I cut it off straight. See, I got a line there already, but we're gonna leave a little bit extra. Yeah, you gotta eat your goat meal. Close enough for now. We can always trim it away. When it comes to templates, you can use pressed paper. Corrugated cardboard doesn't work too well bending it around corners. So what I use is cereal boxes from time to time. I finish my goat meal, take the box, cut it up, and turn it into a template. We call this upcycling to the extreme. Let's get this onto some sheet metal. I'll cut this out, get it ready, clamped in place. Then we can go ahead and start forming up this lower area here. This upper band, we'll figure out once we determine the width of it, we'll bend up a piece of sheet metal to form that upper part, which will probably help us in holding everything together. It's a little bit tricky when you're building without a buck. It's up here. While looking for a piece of sheet metal for this part, I kind of got carried away, found some smaller remnants that I could actually use to create that center section I was talking about, and formed up the driver's side, the left side. So that is pretty much done, but I left the other side. So I basically started out as a piece like this that kind of bent into an arc. I took and wheeled it just a little bit to give it a bit of a convex shape, not too much, you don't really need it back here. We're gonna take and roll these flanges up so that we can take and join it up with these side crescent moon pieces. We're gonna kind of join up like that. Similar to this, just so we have an identical right side, right side. This panel here is the center section, and that's gonna have a flange rolled down to join up with this flange here. And these pieces are the sides, you saw them earlier. So this is the outer piece, inner piece. We need to bring them together, flush them up at the top. Once we get everything lined up, clamp it, run a few screws into this just to hold everything together. But we can't hang this side from the other side yet because there's no buck, so we're gonna leave it off for now. Let's go ahead and bend this and get it joined up with this piece here so we have a mirror opposite of that. So with the first pass done, I think I'll roll up the second one here. Now we're only rolling up about 1/2 inch. If you start rolling up too much at once, you're gonna run into trouble. You have to do a lot of shrinking, and 1/2 inch is plenty for us to join it with the next panel. We'll scribe, cut away the other one, and fit it to this. And that way we can control the exact curvature of this panel when we take and actually stretch that part there. This one here, we have to do a little bit of shrinking there. All right. We will have to do a little bit of hammer and dolly work because I can't roll it up all the way because the flanges are interfering with that upper wheel. Yeah, it's mating season. Just about there. I think that's going to be it. So you see how we have that little ripple happening there? We have to take and shrink that just a bit, bring it up, touch it up with a hammer and dolly so that this flange is vertical, this one is a bit of an angle to match the other side. So we're going to shrink this first. Now, I don't push this panel in all the way with the jaws all the way up against this edge, otherwise it's going to deform my edge. I try and keep it away from that edge. And it's a very small flange, so you don't need too much to bend it up. Just feather light. That's going to be it. So now we can take and bring this area as well as this one up all the way. So we have almost a vertical flange. It's not going to be quite vertical because it has to blend into that side piece. One of the reasons I like a wooden top, it gives me more of a softened, a cushioned surface to hammer panels on. And if I do need a metal surface to work from, I can use that. I think that's it. Looks good. Now, I can already tell that it flattened out a little bit, I think. Yeah, so we don't have the same curvature as this part here. That's the top. It's really close, but I'm going to take and stretch it just a bit more through the middle because it flattened out, and then we can go ahead and fasten it to that part. You see this edge is kind of rough right now. My shear went off that line a bit. I'm not too worried about it because what we're going to do, yeah, that's right. What we're going to do, we're going to join it to there, scribe a new line, take and cut it off to that edge there, and then weld it up. Enough already. It's been blown all day like that. Uh-oh. Okay, we're good there. I'll run a couple screws into that to hold it, and it will help us in lining everything up when we go to assemble this on the bench. Oh! I'm okay. If it happened for real, I probably wouldn't holy Moses. I wouldn't tell you guys if it happened for real. That would look bad. Okay, a little space there, not too worried about that. At least not at the moment. We're going to take and, like I said, scribe that edge, trim this one away, bring them together, and weld it. It'll be a butt weld. So that's part of the center. Let's lay things out here. Like that. Like that, and we still have to do this one. I still haven't gotten around to that. So, I'm not lining up any witness lines at this point. There are no witness lines. What I'm lining up is the top surfaces of these two panels because they are identical to what's on the driver's side. We'll get a bevel square on there and make sure that this angle is the same as what's on the driver's side. Grab one of these, they're adjustable. I'll get the angle off the car. Right there. Set that, oh my goodness, it's almost there, but not quite. Now it's there. We'll have to screw the pieces together that are on the car so that nothing moves. Okay. So the missing link between these two sections is this part here. And we'll get to this. I feel like doing a little bit of wheeling, so we're going to take and wheel this panel out. First off though, we have to brake the panel. And I'm not talking about putting it in the brake. I'm talking about giving it a bit of curvature. Just like that. Now I'm using my micrometer to look at this curve here and see how well this one relates to that. Now I can tell already this is too sharp. That looks a little bit better. What do you say? Do I need to get it calibrated? I think we're okay. Let's wheel this up and then roll a couple flanges and roll something across the bottom there so that you don't want a raw edge from the underside, you want a stiffener. So we'll just take and roll that down 90 degrees. This top area is going to join up with the top section of the rear fascia. So by wheeling up this area from here to here, staying in within about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches of each edge, we're creating curvature within the panel. I don't want a lot of curvature, but I want to give it some shape. This car is going to have a combination of relatively flat panels. I'm saying relatively because we do give them a bit of convex shape. I don't want everything true flat. And some nice graceful curves like the rear quarters. Now, as I was pulling back, you see that end flutter up like that? If this was a larger piece, it would have created a bunch of little dimples from in. Are you gonna let me talk? Thank you. It'll create a bunch of little dimples up here. You have to wheel them out, smooth them out. So the biggest thing is slow down. And not create them in the first place. Just using some medium to light pressure, nothing too extreme. I think that's going to be it. That's it. Looking quite nice. A little more. There we are. So if I can get a straight edge, should have a very light swelling of the middle of the panel. So I have about 1/8 of an inch space on each side. Perfect. Go to the brake and bend that line. I'm going to give this a soft bend at the bottom. So that means this braking edge has been pushed back. Looks good. And you see, I can hardly unbend the panel because we gave it the curvature. It's really tough. It stiffens the panel up, which is a good thing. Let's go ahead and bend the two flanges on each side so that we can start joining the whole kit and caboodle together. Now, as I was walking to the tipping wheel to bend these flanges over so we can join the kit and caboodle together, it struck me, not the panel, but the width. We have to make sure that we're not too wide or too narrow. So I'm going to go ahead and finally get to fabricating this piece. In the meanwhile, I'm going to mock this up. It's going to look something like that. Not quite though. I need to create a soft radius here so it blends into the side panel. These side panels are going to be a bit of an angle, which probably means that we'll have to take and cut away some of this panel. And these here, well, they're going to be joined with this piece of sheet metal, not cardboard, once we get it formed up. Now, if you're looking at these little lines, that's called art. Good. Like I said, we're not overlapping these when we go to weld them. They'll be disassembled after everything is scribed and welded together with a butt weld, or by means of a butt weld. How does that look? There or there? I think there. I could put a couple tacks on here, but I didn't want to do that until the side panel's on. But if I put the side panel on, it's going to be in the way for me to work on this. So you kind of have to choose your battles. That's coming in really well. It's going to be up like that. And that'll be enough to cover the whole rear end area. Clamp this here. Clamp this here. That's looking good. I like that a lot. What we can do to help us in stabilizing all this mishmash is drop a rod down from here, throw a clamp there. If I went ahead and did this the right way, I would have said, well, I've seen that before. He's done that so many times before on the 40 Ford or whatever car. However, I'm sure you've never seen anything like this before. Makes for some interesting watching. Will he succeed? So I got myself a random piece of rod off the bench. And all we're going to do is throw a clamp up there. Bend this in like that. Bend it some more. Yeah, that's better. And now this is where we actually have to make sure that everything lines up. Yeah. Like that. I'm just checking the curvature of this back area. This rod that I randomly placed here wasn't random because it actually matches the curvature of this end piece here, just a little bit further out because the back of the car curves out and back. And I just have to make sure that that comes in right there. Now, this is just running wild at the moment, so it's in a little bit, but everything else is lining up to where it needs to. Okay, so let's get a dimension on this. Center is to the right side of that flat bar there. There's an arrow. So 8.5 times 2, 17. Our panel should be good the way it is. We don't have to make any changes to it. All right, so what do we do about this clamp? It's in the way. Let's put it on the inside. Uh-oh. So this guy is going to sit. And, no. This rod's in the way. We'll fix that right now. That's nice there. Okay, that's what we need. So we're going to roll a 1/2 inch flange on both sides, roll them down, screw them to this part here, making sure that our bottom flange lines up with the bottom flange layer. I'm going to take and scribe 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. Let's double check that. The green line is on the inside of the 1/2 inch line, and that's what I need. I'm going to have to trim back the top because that's going to interfere the way that flange rolls up. I want a soft radius on the outside. These are custom made. I initially used a shiv off a pulley. It was an adjustable shiv, and it happened to fit the diameter of that shaft. way back when I built this. However, being cast, it didn't last 25 years, it lasted 24 years. So ended up taking and making up a new piece, had this machine down, welded this collar on, away we went. We've also got this softer radius one here, and that's what we're going to use for our flange. Right there. Okay. First time I don't put the pressure up too high, just enough to pinch the sheet so I can roll it through. There we go. You can see the material is already starting to pucker. It means we have too much, we'll probably end up shrinking it when we roll it up. Using 20 gauge for the body of this car. It's going to work out quite nicely. Because this is puckering like this now, more so, it's actually starting to deform our curvature here. So I can't go much more until I put that in the shrinker and shrink that down. Okay, nice. I say nice because it's doing what I expected it to do. These things here, really, they'll get taken care of very shortly. Before going too much further, I'm going to take and roll that up using a hammer and dolly, because it's going to be kind of hard to get this into the shrinker the way it is right now unless I flatten it out. I didn't want to flatten it. Not too pretty yet. Wanted to create a flange that's flat so I can get this in the shrinker and do some shrinking on this. Then we'll go ahead and put it in the tipping wheel and clean it up, making sure there's no lumps and bumps in that curvature. When we lay this up against that part on the car where there's outside half moons, crescent moons, we will be able to tell how close we are. We may need to touch this up a little bit. For now, it's close. I'm going to use the English wheel to very carefully level out any little bumps we might have developed with the hammer and dolly. A little bit of a flat spot there. This is going to take care of that, just like that. All right, that's turning out really well, smooth right out. And what we have, that clamp is in the way a little bit, but we have a very nice panel that rolls down and covers up the differential. And we're gonna probably actually do this on the bench. It'll be a little bit easier trying to manage all this. Clamp these pieces together, clamp that side together, drop a rod down there, suspend the whole thing, take a look at it, and see how it looks. Except for one thing. We need to create one more inner sheet metal piece to join up that side. So, but we're getting closer. Okay, got that joined up. That'll come together there. A little bit of a space, but not concerned about that yet. Everything is fitting up. We have to finish the bottom. That's top, That's that. So what I was talking about is that curvature, we have to match it up to this curvature here. Have no fear, all this will clean up very nicely. Right now we're just fitting, tacking, in this case, all the bits and pieces together until we get the shape we need. That's going to sit like so. Clamp here. I need to measure down from the top, figure out what's happening here. 4 inches. And we are 4 inches, hair over 4 inches. Can you guys see that? I don't know if we can zoom in that close. Hair over 4 inches. I put a witness line right out here before screwing this together so I knew where to go to. There's no magic in getting pieces together. You do have to take the time and measure everything out. Because those are sitting like that, that's like that. We need to give this panel some support, temporary support. If we screw it together like that, the curvatures wouldn't fit. They have to be in line with each other. And we're going to use our friend here. Yeah, that's going to work. Let's see how close we can get this in together. Holy smokes. Okay, now I talked about making sure that our radius or curvature is where we need it to be. And unfortunately, it's going to be like that. That's got to sit there. See, it's rocking right here. So this curvature has to be tightened up a little bit more. We're going to line it up all the way through, just like that. And what we'll do is cut these tails off, roll them, and create a flange. So this flange is continuous all the way through. The wind, when it's going past here, it's not going to flutter the bottom. If we leave this raw, an edge just comes down, the wind's going to chatter it. Let's curve this up and refit it. Now, I went ahead and actually tightened up a little bit more than actually necessary, so when I push down, it should all come into alignment with that metal piece. Actually, that's where it needs to be. Clamp. Like that. Good. I need more clamps. You can never have enough. Okay, now I gotta feel with my finger up inside. Yeah, a little space there. It's nice all the way through. We have a little space there. That means I got to pull that down. It just fell into place. I felt it come down. It's right on. That's all working really well together. We'll run a couple screws into this. We'll get it mocked up on the car and take a look at it. See this tail comes down inward like this? Both of them do. It's because we rolled this up and I didn't stretch this area. So this will have to come apart and I'll have to take and bring that upward so that it's a straight line from one to the other. I'll show you. Probably see it on this side. See how it dips down? I need them to be even with each other. So we'll have to make that correction. And the only way to do that is to take everything apart and have to start over, or we can just take out a couple screws here, leave this together, adjust it, bring it back. Should I do that now? Yes. Okay. Oh, that fits a lot better now. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, with everything cleaned up, let's put the screws back in and fit this to the car. This is exciting. I love developing the shapes, going from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional, or going from what I see in my head to an actual piece on the car. After that, it's all boot camp. Just fit, scribe, tack, weld, grind, all that stuff. All right, let's do a level check. Testing 1, 2, 3. And we are within 1/8 of an inch. That's going to be fine until we get it on the car and making sure that everything else works out. This is going to be interesting now. We should get a support on the passenger side so that once we get the driver's side clamped in place, we don't leave it hanging. Let's try that for now. Oh no, our screw came out. How did that happen? Okay, so this is still kind of floppy. We're gonna have to get a few more supports in place, temporary, and clamp it to make sure that the whole thing just doesn't flop around. And the other big key to this puzzle is to get that rear inner fender on that side installed so that we can take and mock up this one. The frame rails, they're there from side to side, so that's good, those top pieces there. So we can go by that from side to side, making sure that the 2 inner fenders are in place. Then based on those inner fenders, we can locate this. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these apart so we can get them located on the car. Okay, this is the right side. I need some vice grips. Guys seen the vice grips? There were 2 there, but I've welded or tacked that onto the rear fascia buck. Well, here they are. Right now, it's all about components, bits and pieces. Okay. Again, we're going to tack all this to the buck, just tiny tacks. Happy little tacks. See, there's tension right there. That's no good. So, boom. Like that. And we're going to get a little tack right there. Okay. That's why I use kind of sacrificial taillights, because if a spark happens to land on it, we do treat them well, but if a spark lands on it, I'm not too concerned. We have the real deal put away. So when the car is assembled later on, much later on, we'll be able to get them in place. And that's fitting up quite well. Look at that. Wow. Yeah. Me likey. I was gonna say I can try and get a screw in here, but there's a rod and I'll hit the rod, so that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna have to make a slight adjustment on the angle down here. Hey, give me a break. We're not using a buck. Release that. Hope everything holds. This is gonna be the tricky part. We need to take and transpose the coordinates from this side onto the other side. All right, guys, here we go. I've had to extend from our cart table back with a piece of 1/8 plate steel. There's a spacer on that side that kept that inner fender well out. So I did the same thing over here. And I've marked back from the taillight location where this panel should end up. So we're gonna rest it on that surface because that is the bottom of the rocker. Kind of place it there. And we got to get a clamp over here. I'm gonna line up this mark like that. Both inner fenders are created to be identical. So technically, if all our dimensions are correct, it should work out. As it's turning out here, this rear fascia seems to be matching up not too badly in this area. One thing I am seeing is that fascia is way too long. it looks like it's got a load in its diaper. We have this whole thing is kind of bunching inward. That's not good. Okay, that's being held up there. Oh, look at that. It relieved itself. Bad joke, I know. Okay, vice grips. I need a couple pairs. That's holding that. That's holding that. Everything's holding everything. Let's see what we can do with these. So if we measure how much overlap we have on one side, technically we should be able to split the difference and call it a day. Come on. Hook there. What's half of 2.5? That's how much we have to take off. Half of 2.5 off each piece. Not 2.5 of this one, because we'll have a lopsided center. Oh, 1 second, guys. I'm glad you stopped me. This has to be right here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and knock off 1.25 inches minus 1/2 inch flange. So this little bit here, I'll flatten it out, chop it off, re-roll it, get it in and clamp it. And then we're gonna determine, we'll do that side, and then we'll see how much we have to raise this up. All right, so I just finished taking and cutting off 1.25 inches off each side, rolling a new flange, and getting it all screwed back together, and it looks a whole heck of a lot better. Put a few tacks, welded this plate in, a few tacks there, just to get rid of these clamps because they are quite distracting. And we can see nothing fell down, that's good. Got this end inner wheel well tacked in place. We can see that things are shaping up. Sometimes when a roadster gets built, the tail is a little bit high and it looks like a rabbit with its tail up in the air. But here we've extended the back end of the roadster to incorporate the cooling system and giving a long, sleek look. I'll throw a rendering up on the screen just so you guys can kind of see the side profile and how it's all going to work out. So let's look from the side and see how things are shaping up from here. So there we go. So I mentioned earlier that this bottom point is too low. You can see this line is coming up at this angle, and that point is, like I said, too low. So what we need to do is, come on, not holding my tongue right, there we go. Take 1 inch off, raise it up, not a big deal. Just unscrew this, re-roll the flange, bring it up. That's why I didn't finish the whole thing up on the bench and get this all finalized, because little things like this need to be adjusted. Now, you're standing about 6 feet back. We're gonna step back 50 feet. We're gonna get this car outside when we assemble it all. Take a look at it and see how it looks from 50 feet away, if the profile looks good. If it does, after this modification is done, then we'll go ahead and keep going. Finalize it back, wrap it up. Let's go back to the back and kind of play with the license plate orientation for now. See this green line? This does line up with the right side of that bar where the arrow is pointing, so that is centered, in case you're wondering. It is a little bit loosey-goosey because it's only on screws, but that's okay. Right now, prototyped it, gonna check it out, see how it looks, and like once those corners are adjusted, if we're happy with it, we'll weld it all up solid. You know, butt weld it, not flange weld and smear it with Bondo. We don't do that here. As for the license plate, maybe I should throw this panel up here first. And that's gonna sit up there, kind of for now. Just, wow, that's opened up for 1 inch box tubing. Can I get this before it falls? Come on, a little bit more. Let's try, oh no, it's falling. Center line, bring it up. There we go. So obviously there's no shape to it, it's just a flat piece. That's why it's rocking. We're gonna have to take and wheel that up, but not before we do the tail lights, and I'll get into that in a second. License plate. We're gonna have flat bar is where that blue line is. So if we put the license plate up here, it looks kind of weird because this is going to be dipping down. We're going to have an LED that flows through here. So leave that alone. What I'm thinking is, since we do need to bury a license plate light, we're going to plop this thing right in here, but underneath. We're going to take and recess that back, and we'll have the license plate sitting there. Don't want it too low. That seems like a good spot. Put it down in the comments. Let me know what you think. With all this gone, just to give you a better look, it's going to sit right about there, get recessed in underneath this flat bar. Now these tail lights, got the afterburner theme happening here, kind of thinking of a bird's wing, like a bird. So you got the two wings here, and that's going to be an LED strip through there, kind of outlining the top portion of the car with a mesh for the air from the rad to get out. These tail light areas are going to be recessed in, tunneled in on an angle like this. So that's going to be stepped in, same as over there. So they're going to look like a kind of a turbo on a jet. I hope you like where this car is going. It's an interesting build because, like I said, we don't have a buck to go to on this side. And I've done that on purpose. The shapes aren't too complicated. It's just really important to get all your datum points established so that one side isn't skewed or off or whatever from the other side. In the next episode, we're going to tackle these taillights, get them roughed in, get this rear fascia finalized to fill in all these holes, and kind of leave it on screws for now in case we need to make any adjustments. It's one thing to draw a car on paper and look at it and fall in love with it on paper. It's a whole other thing to see it on the ground outside from 50, 100, 200 feet away. That's going to be it for this episode. You guys take care, and I really appreciate you guys watching and all the support you've given us. See you in the next one.